Good evening, everyone. I call to order the meeting of the Village of Riverside Board of Trustees for Thursday, November 16th, 2023. First, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Sol, will you please call the roll?
President Pollock.
Here.
Trustee Clarity.
Here.
Trustee Koss.
Here.
Trustee Marshazga.
Here.
Trustee Mateo.
Here.
Trustee Evans.
Here.
Trustee Gallegos.
Here.
Village Manager Francis.
Here.
Attorney Pickrell.
Here.
Also present Clerk Sol.
Thank you. We have a quorum. For President's report, I have two appointments related to our Parks and Recreation Board. First is a motion or an appointment of John McGlennon as chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Board to fill the vacancy created when Trustee Koss stepped up to be a trustee. John has been on the Parks and Rec Board for several years, has provided leadership on that board, and I'm excited to give him the opportunity to lead our Parks and Recreation Board. Could I have a motion to appoint John McGlennon as chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Board?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Koss, second by Trustee Mateo. Any discussion of the motion? If not, Clerk Sol, please call the roll.
Trustee Clarity.
Aye.
Trustee Koss.
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga.
Aye.
Trustee Mateo.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
Congratulations, John, in your new role as chair. Do you have anything you'd like to address the board?
No, thank you.
Great. Good answer. Thank you. The second appointment is to replace the member, the vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Board, also due to the appointment of Trustee Koss to the Village Board. So could I please have a motion to appoint Helen Gallagher to the Parks and Recreation Board to fill a vacancy with a term to expire in 2028?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Evans, second by Trustee Koss. Any discussion on the motion? If not, Clerk Sol, please call the roll.
Trustee Clarity.
Aye.
Trustee Koss.
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga.
Aye.
Trustee Mateo.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
And Helen, if you go to the podium, Clerk Sol will affirm your appointment to the Parks and Recreation Board.
Great hands up. I, Helen Gallagher,
I, Helen Gallagher,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Parks and Rec Board member
that I will faithfully perform the duties of Parks and Rec Board member
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, for your willingness to serve our community. That's resident service on our committees and commissions, as well as the Board of Trustees, is the heartbeat of the village, and it's very important and gratifying to see how many people in this community are willing to step forward and give their time for the betterment of our village. So thank you. Manager's report, Manager Francis.
Thank you. I'm excited to announce that the village has hired a building inspector, and he started on November 6th. His name is Robert Conscious, and we will be transitioning certain inspections and responsibilities from Lakeside Consultants to Rob in phases. Rob will also be proactively monitoring the village for individuals doing work without a permit, Additionally, he will assist with code enforcement and rental registry inspections as his schedule allows. Additionally, I wanted to note that village offices will be closed next week on November 23rd and 24th for the Thanksgiving holiday. Residents may still conduct certain business online, such as submitting permits and payments. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you. Resident comments for non-agenda items. If there is anyone in the audience who would like to comment on a non-agenda item, comments, now is the time for that. Comments for items on the agenda may be made when that item is brought up and discussed by the board. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Clerk Soul, please call the consent agenda.
Approve voucher list of bills November 16th, 2023. Review and file Public Works October report. Approve Village of Riverside and Riverside Public Library 2023 tax levy public hearing minutes November 2nd, 2023. Approve Village Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes November 2nd, 2023. Approve Village Board of Trustees executive session meeting minutes November 2nd, 2023. Review and file Board and Commission minutes. Police Pension Board regular minutes May 11th, 2023. Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting September 27th, 2023. Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting October 25th, 2023. A resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the village manager to enter into various purchase orders for fiscal year 2023. A resolution authorizing the village manager to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $49,258 for the emergency water and sewer main repairs required as part of the Shenstone reconstruction project.
Do any of these items, does anyone wish to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Trustee Gallego, second by Trustee Marshazga. Any discussion on the motion? If not, Clerk Soul, please call the roll.
Trustee Clarity?
Aye.
Trustee Koss?
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga?
Aye.
Trustee Mateo?
Aye.
Trustee Evans?
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion is approved. Consent agenda is approved. Department, board, and commission reports. We have a report from our police department update regarding the license plate reader cameras. Director Buckley and Deputy Chief Coder.
Good evening, President Pollock, members of the Village Board, Village Manager Francis. Thank you for allowing us to come in this evening to discuss with you a little bit about the village-wide camera system that we currently have, as well as our license plate reader technology that we're currently utilizing here in the village. And towards the end of this, we'll talk a little bit about where we want to go in the future with regards to that. I'd like at this point to bring up Deputy Chief Coder. He's been instrumental in our camera system throughout the village, especially with a lot of our recent purchases that we've done and implementation of our Axon in-car systems, as well as the body cameras that we're currently using. Deputy Chief Coder. Thank you.
Just very quick, the village currently operates several cameras that are hung in strategic locations around the village. The cameras utilize or help to reduce crimes that have occurred in the village. The village started installing the cameras in 2019 and are currently monitored to safeguard residents and with the use of this modern technology. The camera program has been very successful in a multitude of arrests, criminal identifications, investigative tools, and overall deterrent. Type of arrests we wanted to bring up that have been super important for us. The director is going to talk, but it has helped solve homicides not only in Riverside, but outside of our jurisdiction with assisting other agencies in identifying vehicles. A multitude of armed robberies, vehicle hijackings, which is plaguing the areas around us every day, burglaries, thefts, and my favorite was bike thefts at the end. Although that sounds small, I'll explain that towards the end. The investigative tool of this, not only a criminal aspect of it, or his assistant in locating missing children, not only to identify that they did go missing, but kind of give us a route to start from and where maybe to lead. Whether we identified them on the cameras or didn't, it helps us knowing where to go. And then a huge one was falsifying police reports. So people have made false police reports. Specifically, one that came to mind when doing this was a robbery at the Minuteman gas station. A younger person told us that he was robbed by several suspects in the area. We were able to quickly identify and falsify that allegation and then go back and re-interview him, which saved us countless hours of investigating. Besides our team and our detective division with our agency, it saved us countless hours of investigation work. So, but specifically when I said that before about the bike thefts, some arrests take place in minutes, and after reviewing the videos, Riverside officers who are on duty every day are able to identify several of these offenders and make apprehensions and recover their stolen property. And specifically, we were kind of plagued a couple times this year over the summer with a rash of bike thefts, which were mostly, a lot of them were recovered, which was amazing. And even though we can talk about homicides and armed robberies and other things, which are obviously very, a huge deal in bringing those people to justice, but I think there's nothing that's, put a better feeling in officers on the streets when they can return younger kids' bikes to them in a quick manner. So I'm talking under 30 minutes, I don't know if you've ever been the victim of it before. You come out, mom and dad have probably purchased you some nice bike. You have a very nice bike out there. You come out, you live in Riverside. Not everybody locks things up. You want to run in, grab a Coke from, one of the local establishments. You come out, and that prized possession of yours is now missing. So when you can return that to a family or a young kid who's devastated in under 30 minutes, that's a pretty awesome result. So not even speaking about like the criminal apprehension part of our camera system and what it's provided to us in solving crimes, but that particular thing alone, to be part of that and be able to return those things is pays for itself sometimes. So if there are any questions, I said this was going to be kind of short.
Actually, I'd like to hit on a few things first before questions. Deputy Chief Coder talked about bike thefts. I was personally involved in 2 of them over the summer. Unfortunately, it was the same offender. We don't only utilize our camera systems, but we utilize other camera systems throughout town, whether they be at a business, a recreational type place. When a crime does occur, first thing we start looking for is camera footage, because it helps us right away. So 2 of the bike thefts over the summer, we had them solved, one within 5 minutes. One took about 30 minutes because there was a little bit of a delay, but as soon as I saw the offender, I said, I know who he is. We went and looked for him and found him right away and recovered the bike. So the camera systems help us tremendously. We talk a little about the license plate reader, the LPR technology that's out there. So here in Riverside, in our cars, with the Axon cameras that are currently being utilized, they do have LPR technology where if a plate is listed in our system or in the statewide system, which is called LEADS, the Law Enforcement Data System, it'll alert the officer that a vehicle just went by him with this license plate, put a picture of the plate on the screen, and that it's wanted or was involved in a crime. So then the officer can go look for that vehicle and try to stop the vehicle and make an apprehension. In our camera system in town, we're also able to look at plates. So a year ago, we had an armed robbery that occurred at one of our local businesses. One of the first things we started doing is pulling up video. Once we pulled up the video, we were able to identify the vehicle that was utilized in the armed robbery, and through that, we were able to look at the license plate and read the license plate. We start running it, find out who it belongs to, but we also put it into another system, and it's called the hot files, where through our law enforcement data system, that plate will alert with any other LPR camera that's being utilized in other communities as well. 10 o'clock the next morning, this crime occurred at 8 o'clock in the evening. 10 o'clock the next morning, I got notified right away that that plate just alerted at another local municipality not too far from us that that vehicle was in the area. We then went there, started looking for the vehicle with other officers, and we were able to locate the vehicle, take the offender into custody, recover most of the proceeds that we're taking in that offense. And we had an arrest on it very quickly. So that technology does work. It's being utilized throughout the country right now. It's on the increase because it's such a valuable tool for law enforcement to help solve crimes and hopefully prevent crimes from happening also. So at this point, I would like to open up to any questions that you may have for us.
Trustees, any questions?
The only question I have is you mentioned that you might have further use for it in the future.
So with our current system that we have in Riverside, it needs power to run the cameras. So it's in next year's budget. It was approved as part of the capital for next year's budget to buy a few cameras from a company called Flock, which is a different vendor than we currently have. So it would be a third system that we'd be utilizing in town. But those cameras work off of solar. So we could pretty much mount them on a post at a lot of locations in town where we would like to have some video, and we could put those cameras there to assist us, where it's areas middle of the block where there isn't power and it would be very expensive to run power there. So we're looking to get those cameras implemented also next year.
Great.
Any other comments? I would like to add a couple things. One is I have personal experience with a 12-year-old boy whose bike was recovered with the assistance of Officer Morello 10 years ago. 12-year-old boy was very happy and had with the camera system at the high school actually aided in that resolution of that incident. But I can speak directly to what that means to families in Riverside in those cases. But also, I just wanted to state that these camera systems has been something that I've been an advocate of my whole time on the village board. I've seen them work in villages. It's an incredible tool that we have. Public safety is our #1 job as a village. We should use this technology and with the policies that we have in place to protect privacy of innocent people, of citizens. This is a tremendous tool for us. And I'm so glad that our police department is expanding and continues to use that. So thank you, Chief Buckley and Police Department.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
Pending business. Or I should say, are there any other department, board, or commission reports this evening? Seeing none, we'll go on to pending business. An ordinance amending Section 10-7-3, accessory structures and uses of the zoning code of the Village of Riverside, Illinois, relating to standards for new unenclosed porches in the R3 district. Planner Siren.
Thank you. This item was last presented to you on September 21st, and the board supported taking this forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission. On October 25th, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on the item, made a couple of minor changes to the language. It was also reviewed by the Preservation Commission on November 1st, and they also made a couple of minor changes to language, but substantively, it's the same as what you previously reviewed and recommended approval of. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the trustees? Any comments, discussion? Trustee
Just
Evans.
comment that I appreciate all the work that's gone into this particular issue, both from you and also the commissions. It's a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? If not, could I have a motion approving the ordinance amending Section 10-7-3 of the zoning ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Gallegos, second by Trustee Marsh Ozga. Any discussion on the motion? If not, Clerk Soul, please call the roll.
Trustee Clarity.
Aye.
Trustee Costs.
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga.
Aye.
Trustee Mateo.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
Motion is approved. An ordinance providing for the issue of approximately $1,270,000 general obligation limited tax bonds, Series 2023, for the purpose of financing various capital improvements within the village, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof. Finance Director Johns.
Good evening. I want to
Tell the board that we had a successful bid today for the sale of this debt in the amount of $1,270,000. We had the bond notification hearing last meeting on November 2nd. We had one bidder on this debt issuance, and I'd also like to invite Rafaelita McKenzie up from Spear Financial to tell us a little bit more about this bond sale.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rafaelita McKenzie. I am with Spear Financial, and I'm filling in today for Mark Geratina and Anthony Michelli, whom you've probably have already met. I've been at Spear for over 20 years. I was telling Karen here that my clients are all over Illinois. So I work with clients as close as Oak Park and Maywood around the corner, Joliet, Aurora, Elgin. I'm all over the place. So over 25 years of experience. As Karen mentioned, the village had its bond sale today. It was a competitive bond sale, meaning all bidders had an opportunity to bid on the bonds, at which time we only received one bid from Robert W. Baird in Milwaukee. They also have an office here in Naperville. The interest rate was at 3.908, I believe. And after getting the rate, we did a little bit of research, right? Because we looked at your bond issue. You have a very attractive bonds, to be honest, going into the market. And what do I mean when I say that? You're bank qualified, you're AA plus, your short years through to 2028 maybe. So these are the features, right, that will make it an attractive bond issue. But again, we only had one bid that came in. It happens sometimes. The market has been a bit crazy the last several days, the last year. It's been like this for a while. We've been monitoring the markets, and after getting the bid, now we needed to dig a little bit further. What happened here? So we went back and compared to two other bond sales, meaning local governments that are comparable to yourself. What does that mean? They carry the same rating, same bank qualification, and after reviewing those, we found the rate to be favorable. And so, which is why I'm here to present that to you and to say that we think the rate is favorable and should be accepted. I also got a chance to review your rating report, AA plus as mentioned. You have strong liquidity, strong local economy, management is solid. So I think the village is doing everything that they really need to be doing and heading in the right direction. Any questions?
Any additional questions or comments, discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion regarding an ordinance providing for the issuance, a motion to approve an ordinance providing for the issuance of $1,270,000 general obligation limited tax bonds, Series 2023 of the Village of Riverside, Cook County, Illinois, for the purpose of financing various capital improvements within said village, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds by Robert W. Baird and Company, Incorporated.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Clarity, second by Trustee Mateo. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Clerk Sol.
Trustee Clarity?
Aye.
Trustee Koss,
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga?
Aye.
Trustee Mateo?
Aye.
Trustee Evans?
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Ordinance is approved. The new business, we have a resolution amending the Village of Riverside Employee Handbook. Director Johns.
Good evening. Before you tonight, we have a couple changes to our employee handbook. The first change is changing the name from the employee manual to the employee handbook. We're starting a rewrite of the handbook, which will be completed in first quarter of 2024. Our goal is to make this a more user-friendly document, but there was a couple changes that we wanted to get in before the end of the year. The first change that we made was removing the hourly benefits for fire department deputy chief and battalion chiefs for sick and vacation leave, working more than 1,000 hours per year. This change will currently only affect one employee, and while this change was put into effect earlier this calendar year, we found it increasingly difficult for these staff to use this leave time balance because they are part-time employees. The addition to this is also adding section 3.14 of the employee handbook. Change is hard sometimes. This is paid leave for non-eligible part-time staff and other employee classifications. This will cover all employees not covered by another leave bank with 1 hour of leave time per 40 hours worked. This is part of the requirement that's going to come into effect January 1, 2024, due to the Paid Leave for All Workers Act. So having this on our books before then, we'll talk about that in ordinance next, will give staff that benefit. It will also allow for the automatic payout of this every December 31st. This change in the employee manual will go into effect December 31st of 2023, so it's on the books before the law change. So all of our part-time employees who are not covered by another classification will get paid out 1 hour this December 31st. That cost is slightly less than $1,500 to the village.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the resolution amending the Village of Riverside Employee Handbook?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Marsh Osga, second by trustee Evans. Any discussion on the motion? If not, Clerk Sol, please call the roll.
Trustee Clarity?
Aye.
Trustee Koss.
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga?
Aye.
Trustee Mateo?
Aye.
Trustee Evans?
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos?
Aye.
Motion is approved. The ordinance or resolution is approved. B, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 12 of the Village Code regarding paid leaves of absence of Village of Riverside employees. Director Johns.
Good evening. As discussed before, March 13th of 2023, Illinois Governor Pritzker approved the Paid Leave for All Workers Act, which requires employers to provide paid time off benefits for all workers. I wanted to mention that municipalities were not excluded from this law, while park districts and school districts were. There was no exception for municipalities, so we had to comply. It was important for us to get an ordinance on the books before this law went into effect, so we can request things like 48 hours notice before leave time is taken. This attached ordinance notes that the village employee handbook and collective bargaining agreements meet or exceed the requirements of this act.
Thank you, Director Johns. Any questions or comments from the trustees? Could I get a motion to approve an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 12 of the Village Code regarding paid leaves of absence of Village of Riverside employees?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Marsh Osga, second by trustee Mateo. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Clerk Sol.
Trustee Clarity?
Aye.
Trustee Koss.
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga?
Aye.
Trustee Mateo?
Aye.
Trustee Evans?
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos?
Aye.
Motion is approved, and the ordinance is approved. Resolution approving an agreement with Waste Not, Inc. for food scrap composting services. Assistant Manager Monroe.
Good evening. So we have not formally discussed this at a meeting, but we did get a mention in Trustee Marshazga's report on C4 that we took into account the feedback that we received through our efforts to get community ideas for becoming a greener Riverside. Some of those comments revolved around the ability to do year-round composting. Currently, Flood Brothers, our waste hauler and recycler, does offer this service as part of our yard waste collection from April through November. In that gap, there is not a service provided. Waste Not is currently serving Riverside as a private company. So they are already here serving some of our households at their standard market rate. What they've provided to us is to consider an agreement that would be exclusive to Riverside, so offering by subscription, small container, sealed containers, and hauling that away year-round. So people can pause a subscription if they like. They can jump on at the end of now yard waste season for that period of time until Flood Brothers resumes, or they could choose to continue the service as a subscription at their household. Some cool things that Waste Not does is they're a very green company in that they pick everything up and exchange the containers in electric vehicles, which doesn't add to carbon emissions in town. They provide subscribers their own data. They weigh and measure it and before they haul it away, so you can know what those impacts are that you have or that you're removing. And then they also provide subscribers with finished compost as well. So really it ties to our goals through C4 and just providing an additional optional service for our residents. And by signing onto an agreement, the benefit is that we get a better rate. So for weekly services for residents, instead of $40, it's $27. People can opt for a lower rate if they'd like it picked up every other week. And again, it's all run through the households in Waste Not. The village is not receiving any kind of invoicing. We're not managing any kind of payments, and we're not paying for any of these services. So it's really just an additional benefit that we're considering. So I'll answer any other questions that you might have.
Thank you. I know this came out of C4, at least in part, so I'd like to ask Trustee Evans or Trustee Marshaska to lead the discussion.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I just did want to clarify for the board and for the public that it's not, $27 per week. It's $27 a month.
A month.
For weekly service.
Yes.
So I just wanted to put that out there, that it is a significant reduction from the standard market rate of $40 a month for weekly service. And again, if you were wanting to have service every other week instead of every week, it would be half of that. So that's just an upfront statement. But we were very excited to come across Waste Not and their services. They have an exclusive agreement with the Village of Lake Forest that just started with them this fall. And there's no minimum requirements as far as the number of subscribers that they would want from a particular municipality to start. I am thrilled with their professionalism, their references, the level of data that they provide in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions that have been avoided by each pickup at the household level, and at the municipal level we can get those reports too, which is fabulous as we are commencing the development of our climate action and resilience plan. To have that kind of data at the outset, it's going to be wonderful for us. As I'm sure you probably all know, methane, which is generated when food scraps are sent to landfills, is a greenhouse gas that is approximately 25 to 35% more potent than CO2. So in terms of being an effective measure that we can take from the get-go, it's a very good start for us. In Illinois in particular, I'm going to cite some statistics from the Illinois EPA. 19 million tons of waste go to landfills every year, and 20% of that waste is food waste. And that's significant. It is the single largest waste stream that goes into landfills, and it doesn't need to. And as we think about planning for our future and what our waste contracts are going to be costing down the line, it is significant to note that the Chicago metropolitan area only has 4 major landfills, according to a 2023 report from the Illinois EPA. And the life expectancy, the fill capacity on those is 2 of them are expected to be filled in 3 years. A third one is expected to be filled in 4 years, and then the fourth one in 13 years. So if that is the case, you know, it's incumbent on all of us to right now start a cultural shift towards, you know, composting that, taking it out of the equation so that we can make our resources last a little longer here. That's all.
Trustee Evans?
Hi, thank you. Do you have any information on where they haul the compost?
Where they haul the compost, I know it's a single source. We can get more information about where they have it. I had a discussion with currently asking a little bit more information about Flood Brothers and where they send materials, and it just depends. So with WasteNet, it seems that they have their own set source in one place, and then they manage that through the state licensing processes. So I can get back to you on where they send it.
Thanks.
Sure. I'll clarify too that if there was a household that wanted a biweekly collection, so every other week, it'd be $18 a month. It is available for multifamily properties, so renting households can participate. Commercial businesses would have an option to opt in. Our focus right now is residential, but it is available. And then if there were any other more industrial size organizations, like the schools or the village or whoever, they would also be able to service that if we chose.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the trustees?
I just wanted to comment that even if you are already composting, this service can take things that you can't normally compost, like meat products and proteins, things that are not typically, like if you're a backyard composter, you can't compost these things. So it really does fill a gap in, you know, what people are really trying to reuse. So.
One last comment about concern about pests. I know that that's one of the biggest reasons in our survey that we receive a really healthy response. People are interested in composting, but they're hesitant to do it because of concern about animals. And this is an option for people who are already doing an open, you know, type compost pile, that they would be in sealed 5-gallon containers, only put out, you know, when it's time for pickup. We can coordinate it with our standard services, so just, you know, we can do Thursdays so we know when everybody's getting picked up. And the containers are sealed, so it should mitigate some concern about smell or animals in a very effective, efficient way. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you, staff and Trustee Evans and Marshazga for all your work on this through C4. And this is an example of a small, good decision, to paraphrase New Cubs manager Craig Counsell. You stack a bunch of small, good decisions and you have success.
Great.
So this is a great example of that. Could I get a motion to approve a resolution approving an agreement with WasteNet Inc. for food scrap composting services?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Marshazga, seconded by trustee Evans. Any discussion on the motion? If not, clerk Sol.
Trustee Clarity?
Aye.
Trustee Koss,
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga?
Aye.
Trustee Mateo?
Aye.
Trustee Evans?
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos?
Aye.
Motion and the resolution is approved. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Village Board Strategic Goals for fiscal year 2024. At our September 21st meeting, we received a work plan and goals from all of our various commissions and committees, as well as each of our staffing departments. That they put a lot of work into that, and at that time I noted that we as the village board were the only ones without our own set of goals for 2024, and so I endeavored to create a method for us to look at their goals as well as to create our own sets of goals. And so what I did was we consolidated all of the goals from the departments and committees and staff, asked the trustees to individually to rank those for each department and committee, and then also to develop their own list of goals for the village board or the village as a whole. Thank you to all the trustees. I know that took some time and effort, and there wasn't a whole lot of specific direction, so I did it myself, and I kind of struggled, but I think the results are very helpful. I thought seeing the results and not having, we just got those in yesterday, but seeing those I thought was enlightening and helpful. We haven't had a lot of time to digest all of that, so I don't want this to be the only discussion, but I'd like to give you an opportunity to comment or throw out any ideas you might have, and then strategize on how we'll proceed with that. I would suggest, first of all, the rankings of the individual departments and committees. I think that's pretty straightforward, and we can just simply ask staff to share that with the staff liaisons of all these different committees and commissions, and Manager Francis to share that with the departments and the committees. And that will inform the departments and committees what we see as the most important of their goals and how we prioritize those. And they'll know, that will inform how they spend their time and resources. And then second of all, I had asked you all to list your goals for the village and the board as a whole. And although there's a long list and everyone worded it a little bit differently, I think in the end, if you look at those and you study those, you'll see that there's probably 7 to 10 categories that were brought up. And what I would like to do, after hearing your thoughts and comments tonight, what I would like to do is work with Manager Francis, summarize those, kind of do a second round of prioritization, and have you give us feedback before the next village board meeting on those specific goals, those 7 to 10, or however many categories there end up being. And then we can revisit this at a subsequent board meeting and come up with a final list of strategic goals. So having said all that, I'm open to ideas, other ways of doing this. We're treading on new ground here. We've not done this before as a village. So I'm open to any ideas or thoughts on process, or if there's any comments you want to make on any specifics, I'd welcome those at this time.
Could we?
Trustee Evans?
On some lines, the priority, the trustee's priority is cut off, so you can't really tell what it is. And I was wondering if we could just read it out loud right now to tell us. So like on number 3, it says positioning and planning, it looks like something's cut off.
Are you working off this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about page 3?
Talking about the trustee priorities.
Yeah.
Under trustee number 3. I believe that's all that that trustee provided.
Well, I mean, I see my own is cut off too.
Okay.
Yeah, so under number 4, the second line, seniors, a large indoor public space for gathering. It was actually a call to explore a resilience center.
So perhaps the formatting of the cells was aligned differently for certain trustees or certain information.
Can you see
So
it?
there was, no, I can't see it. I mean, I see what you're talking about. But
We could work on fixing that. Would it be helpful? So on the last page, staff summarized into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories, although I think there could be more categories, but I think staff just took the top 5 categories that were mentioned. And for those in the audience or watching from home, I'll just list those. You know, and this is really isn't developed into a strategic goal yet, but you can get the idea of what the areas of concern or of importance are. And those 5 include Parks and Recreation, C4 and Sustainability, Riverside 150, Planning for the Sesquicentennial of 2025, Facilities or Space Needs for the Village, and the Groveland Flood Wall. Those were the items that got mentioned most predominantly in the trustee goals. But on the previous page where it's listed in more detail, or you could see there's probably 20 to 30 different descriptions that relate to those goals, and some that actually go beyond those into other categories. So what I would do is to work with staff again, make sure we get all the language correctly and accurately that the trustees provided. If any trustee wants to resubmit and clarify something, that would be welcome. But my intent then would be within the, we've got a holiday next week, so I don't want to burden you with anything for next week or burden myself with anything for next week. But maybe after the holiday, I would get that out to you with more detail, and we'd be able to rank the 20 or 30, or try to categorize and then rank these goals, and then develop them into statements of action, strategic goals that actually state here's the action that we expect or hope to take in 2024. Anything else to clarify, Trustee Clarity?
Not to clarify, just to comment. Okay. I think this is a great exercise. I think it's critical for us to, we all have priorities. We have a long list of goals for the village. Everybody's really supportive of the village, but we have to make sure we're aligning our staff time and our budgeting and making sure we're all rowing in the same direction. So I think it's a great exercise. I would be interested in what we might be able to do to make sure that we are getting feedback from the community, whether we are leveraging some of the surveys that we've done in the recent past. That composting survey was wonderful. I know survey response rates are mixed, but I do think we have an obligation to try to leverage some of that information if we can, or in the future, make sure that we're using feedback from residents. I also think it would be good once we have our goals to make those available to residents and maybe give them an opportunity to comment. I say that only because the work that I do here, I try very hard to consider what I think our residents are asking for from us, and also with the mindset of what is best for the village in the long term, because we have the benefit of a lot more information than our residents do. But I don't want to presume to always know exactly where our residents fall on things, or I'm sure there's well-intentioned bias in here. Certainly some of mine probably have well-intentioned bias based on issues that I'm close to, and we all have that. So I just want to make sure if we're going to do the exercise, let's make it as high integrity as we can.
Yeah, I could work with staff to figure out, that's very good point about the feedback from the community, and I would imagine there's some kind of survey mechanism we could use at some point in time.
We have a Survey Monkey account, and we've utilized it a lot for C4 in the past year. And what we could do is it can be open-ended and just say, list your 5 priorities for the village, and have residents fill out priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll collect that data and kind of synthesize it and then provide it back to the board. It wouldn't probably be for the December meeting, just simply for the fact that we need to give people time to review those items.
And I'm fine if that piece takes longer, right? Or I think you may get better quality of responses if we give residents prompts, like here are the 10 that were identified, or something like, to guide people, right? So you don't get a smattering. I think we also have some decent data. It's not all within the last 3 months, but we do know Parks and Rec does some great surveys when they can. We know we get feedback. And so I'm not asking for a tremendous staff list or staff lift here, just to think about how to make sure once we identify what our goals are, we make that public, because that's the work that we're doing. We do hear residents want to be more connected to what we're doing, and maybe we already have some feedback we could take in.
Well, and just for the benefit of the board, we anticipate that the selected consultant for the request for proposals that we released, I think it was now 6 weeks ago, we've gotten back the responses, we've conducted interviews, those recommendations will be evaluated by the Parks and Rec Board. So there will already be a lot of surveys and assessment through those consultants. So I don't know if we want it too Parks and Rec heavy, or if we want to wait until they kind of engage and get that public feedback. That would just be my own suggestion, because I don't want people to feel like, well, I already answered those questions, and then not do the big one.
Trustee.
Another option
Evans.
would be to do sort of what Trustee Marsh Osgood is doing for the C4 strategic plan. So we have the plan, and we're putting it through, sharing it with the community right now. She shared it with D208, and I shared it with the library board. So we're presenting our plan, and then they can comment. So if you wanted to finish this exercise the way it's planned and then put it up for public comment, that's another option that maybe would take less time.
Okay, yeah. All good suggestions. Any other feedback? If not, what I will work with Manager Francis. I think the next step is to kind of consolidate this information, figure out how we do a survey, or how we get feedback from the community. We'll share that with you before we take any action. But our goal then would be here the next couple of weeks to take that next step, and then kind of softly target the first meeting in January to revisit this.
I just wanted to clarify, I know that I wanted to see a more complete version of the trustee goals, but I do agree that the strategic goal highlights table covered, you can see that it covers a lot of what our goals are. I just am curious to see exactly what everyone said.
I actually have one question too, not pertaining to the trustee goals that were articulated, but when we filled out, the portions pertaining to the commissions and the various departments, there was an opportunity for us to put comments in, which are not reflected in this summary, but I'm wondering if what goes back to the commissions and the departments is more than just the numbers and will also include those comments and suggestions and considerations from all of us.
Absolutely.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Did you want to talk about the overlap that we discovered with the
With
the priorities of our C4 priorities, how many of them?
Yes, okay, I will do that. One of the things that, just occurred to me as I was completing, my assessments of the various commissions and departments and things, was that there was a definite correlation between many of the initiatives that were identified in our detailed summary that's posted online, and then the initiatives of, the commissions. So I went through and I did a cross-referencing of where those commonalities were, and then to the extent that certain initiatives were potentially implicated, but it wasn't really clear where the department or commission was going with it. I also indicated that there was a potential alignment. And so I think that looking at it in that framework, though the preliminary recommendations that we have are not necessarily final, they're not necessarily the be-all, end-all that's going to be an official plan. Moving forward, I think it is good to start working with and thinking from that framework, since it will probably be finalized, in the first part of 2024. So,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? If not, we'll move on. And again, we'll be back. Manager Francis and I will be in touch and get this going after the Thanksgiving holiday. Budget update, Director Johns.
Good evening. I provided you in your packet tonight a summary of previous budget action items and the revisions that were made at the last board meeting, as well as several staff recommendations as far as capital rollovers for fiscal year 2024 budget. Also, at your place tonight, I did include a summary of funds and the projected revised budget for 2024. It's at the bottom of the stack of bond documents at your seats. And I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that the general fund is still looking at a healthy surplus next year of $182,000. We do have some deficits in the capital project funds. This is due to several capital project rollovers, as well as saving money for multiple years, especially with ARPA funds paying for future capital projects. If there's any questions, I'm happy to go over anything in specifics.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the trustees? Thank you. Trustee reports. Are there any trustee reports this evening? Seeing none. We do not have need for an executive session, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait, can I give a quick trustee? I mean,
Sure.
I might have the calendar wrong, but is this our last meeting before the holiday stroll? Or do
It
we
is.
have- It is.
December
Okay.
1st is our holiday stroll.
I usually rely on you to give these updates, and so I'm unprepared with talking points, other than to say, we call the holiday stroll the Santa stroll in my house, and it is my favorite event. It is an event in which Santa comes to visit us on the top of a fire truck, bestows holiday joy on the village of Riverside, and lights up our water tower, and there's simply nothing more magical than that, and it is a wonderful time for all of our businesses to shine, the community to really get out and about and see everybody before we all hibernate for winter. So just a gentle plug that I hope to see you guys all out on the street with candy canes and hot chocolate on the first Friday in December.
Thank you. That's December 1st. Starting when, Alex?
5:45 for Santa.
5:45 for Santa Claus. Be there.
For the tree lighting.
Warmed up by the time
Yeah.
Santa gets there, right?
Yeah.
Usually starts rolling around 5.
Yeah.
All right. And
The chamber
thank you
will
for
have it
that.
under social media as to who will have what singers, bells, artistic creations that are going to be out there, who will have hot chocolate, other treats as well, so.
Yes, and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for all they do for the holiday stroll. It's a great event. Very important for this village. And along those lines, as long as we're doing things like that, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. As Manager Francis noted, Thursday and Friday next week, the Village Hall will be closed for the holidays. But I hope everybody has a safe and warm Thanksgiving holiday. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion seconded.
Motion, second. Was there a second over here?
Oh,
over there, sorry. Both over there, okay, very good. Roll call.
Trustee
Clerk,
Clarity.
Aye.
Trustee Cost.
Aye.
Trustee Marshazga. Trustee Mateo.
Aye.
Trustee Evans. Trustee Gallagher.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.